Hi YouTube, this is Kristen Moonrise. Welcome back to my channel. I am an astrologer and spiritual life coach focusing on mindset, confidence, and rewriting your life story. Today in this video, we're going to talk about the different chart types in astrology. And I'll actually give credit to a Twitter mutual who asked this question or suggested this topic. What I believe she was asking was, what does it mean when you have many planets in one house or in one sign? And so, although I can't really say definitively what that would mean for that chart because I don't know what planets those would be and what house or sign those planets would be in, we can at least talk about the characteristics of each astro chart type and what that means for the individual. So there are 7 different chart types, and these aspect shapes were devised by American astrologer Mark Edmund Jones in his book, The Guide to Horoscope Interpretation. I don't have that book, but one book that I have references his book, and another source that I use um, references this book, and I'll leave all of that information in the description box. So let's get to the chart types. The first chart type that we'll talk about is the splash. And so this chart type is when the planets occupy or are scattered around as many signs as possible. The traits of a person with a splash chart shape is multifaceted, well-read, and proficient in many areas. Relatable to different groups of people, they're open-minded, but they may spread themselves thin as their energies may be scattered and they risk being unproductive. The second chart in this grouping is titled the splay, which also happens to be my chart type. So the splay is very similar to the splash, but it's when there are 2 to 3 conjunctions of planets in one sign. And I believe this is perhaps what my Twitter mutual was asking about. So instead of saying conjunctions, this could be pairings, clusterings, or groupings, or stellium. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Stellium of planets in one sign. So the traits of a person with a splay type chart is individualistic. They play by their own rules. They don't like to play by anyone else's rules. They tend to be nonconformist and have unusual ideas and interests, but they may struggle with putting all of that together or making sense of all of it. So essentially they need to get their shit together. And so since this happens to be my chart type, I'll give a little bit of a personal story. I was meeting with an astrologer myself for an astrological consultation. And what he was telling me about my chart was that I'm one to get things done. I'm on the quest, and I've got a lot of fire in my chart. So there's a lot of willpower there in my chart. And I was thinking, yes, I'm feeling this. This is so on point. But I also was feeling that there was something kind of holding me back a little bit. And so it didn't dawn on me until I was doing this video. Duh, I have a splay chart type, which means that my interests and my thoughts are kind of all over the place. And I am having, a bit of trouble like focusing down on something. So I just think that that's really interesting that there's so many things that make up an astrology chart. And so there may be certain things that lead to one part of your personality, but then there's other things that may be working with or against those same things. And that's what really makes up the individual, us being as complicated as we are. So I just thought that that was interesting to share. The third chart type is the bundle or wedge. And so it's the rarest pattern of the planets. It's the rarest pattern as the planets must be consecutively grouped together in a few signs. And so the traits of a person with this bundle or wedge shape would be that they're a specialist or expert at one thing or point of view, and they are very intense and unrelenting on whatever that thing is. So their perspective can be limited and they can be a bit difficult when relating to others. The fourth chart type is the locomotive. The planets range over a large number of consecutive signs for this chart type. And so the dominant planet or locomotive is the one that leads the others in a clockwise motion around the chart. So it has the strongest house and sign influence where that first planet is. So people with this chart type attack problems head on and with really, really strong energy, and they tend to be high achieving. The fifth chart type is the bowl. So the planets, this is when the planets fall within 6 consecutive signs, giving the half circle look of a bowl. They tend to have forceful personalities if the planets take up exactly half of the chart, which means it can be exactly the top half, exactly the bottom half, or exactly the sides, and not like necessarily a little bit off. So they'll be typically people with this chart type is that they'll be self-contained. They take meaningful, fulfilled approaches to things that bring great benefits both to themselves and others, but they'll need to learn to integrate the other half of their chart or what they essentially lack. The sixth chart type is the bucket. And so this is when 8 or 9 planets fill half of the circle, and the remaining 1 to 2 will form the bucket handle, called the singleton, which opposes the other planets on the chart. So traits to bucket people are that they have one approach that they always take to achieve a goal. They want others to discover and acknowledge them as individuals rather than adjusting and fitting into the group that they desire to fit in with. But they still are objectively oriented. And so the seventh or last chart type is the seesaw. This is where there's a number of planets in consecutive signs and a number of planets in consecutive signs opposing them, with empty signs between them. So traits of people with this chart can see both sides of everything. They really weigh their options when making decisions. They may even be contradictory in their actions and thinking. So they may even have some stronger than normal internal conflicts than the rest of us experience, but they can truly master this by embodying some sort of equilibrium, openness, and stability. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you like life coaching around the mental, the emotional, the physical, and the spiritual, definitely visit my website and book a free 30-minute consultation. We can definitely talk about whatever you may need to, they may need help figuring out. And so let me know what your chart type is in the comments. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.